The man in the slack hat was surprised, his eyebrows furrowed so tightly that he could crush a fly. What? Seeing the other person's appearance, the disciples happily hugged each other and cried. Ha! We're saved, Senior Brother Hua. The person called Hua Brother's full name is Hua Tan Van. His eyes indifferently looked down. Luckily, he arrived in time. The people from the Demon Cloud Sword sect above laughed loudly and said, Ha, ha, so excited. The giant raised his hand and created a ball of thunder. To die? The ball swung down, and before it could touch Hua Thun Van, he was slashed with a sword. The sword just slashed down and injured all 5 people of Ma Van sect. The battle swept through the dark clouds. The sun appeared again. Tan Van was still standing there without any damage. The people of Ma Van Tong were all lying on the ground, trembling and unconscious. What happened? It was over. Then from the body of a Ma Van Tong member fell a black spirit pearl that gradually emitted a red light. Hua Tan Van gave the disciples a bottle of medicine to treat their injuries. Are you okay? Thank you, Brother Hua, for helping to save him. Hua Tan Van spoke up to reproach junior brother Nyet Nyen. Didn't I say not to do it, this time if I hadn't come quickly? Nyet Nyen received the medicine and sadly said, Senior Brother Hua's lesson must be that those demon cultivators were truly too cruel. Blood sacrifices of hundreds of thousands of cultivators of Than Hu City just to refine the blood soul pearl, ignoring it, would be against the sect's ethics. I was momentarily agitated. Hua Tan Van sighed and patted his shoulder. Naturally, he sincerely advised the young people not to be fooled by the big cake that the sect drew. Measure your strength and make a peaceful life. This is the path of cultivation in my life. Hua, senior brother, you are saying things that others don't understand. Not far away, a black-purple demonic aura appeared, surrounded by small, red lightning bugs. From the pearl appeared an old man with silver hair, holding a red talisman in his hand. This person is called Ta Van, Old Ancestor. He dares to harm the disciples of our Ma Van sect. As he spoke, he released a palm strike called the Magical Shadow Hand. You guys are tired of living. Junior brother Nhu Yin was shocked. His face was covered in sweat as he spoke. This is the elder of Ma Van Kong, Ta Van Old Ancestor, a cultivator of the 7th level of Pu Realm. Hua Tan Van took the sword out of its sheath. The sword just opened and flashed with blue light, surrounded by strong spiritual energy streams. They flew up to block a palm strike from Ta Van Old Ancestor. Ta Van's eyes widened in surprise. He was actually able to block a palm strike from his own 7-level realm. The old face smiled. You're so good. Killing you is really a pity. He offered some words of enticement. Our Ma Van sect has always exalted the strong. Why don't you join me? I will give you the title of the top disciple. You can have as many beautiful women as you want, Hua Tan Van said expressionlessly. Is the treatment that good? But I heard that your disciples of the Demon Cloud sect wake up early and sleep late. Even when the sun shines on the ground, they are still being hunted down by the righteous path. Cultivation also uses the method of grazing and hoping for good luck. Hearing this, the evil cloud ancestor was startled and broke out in a sweat as he explained, We demon cultivators don't have as many rules and regulations as the righteous sect. The environment is relatively comfortable, and the more you improve, the more you eat. Hua Tan Van laughed mockingly. Ha ha, it's true that the more you work, the more you eat. The work at Tan Van Kiem Tong is stable, and it's an old sect, so I'm living peacefully here. The more he spoke, the more angry he became. Hua Tan Van drew his sword. Now you want to trick me into going to the competition. Saying that, he flew up and used the first move of the Tan Van sword technique. Before Ta Van Old Ancestor could prepare, he was attacked. He hugged his chest and panicked. Hui Tan Van Huyen. Sword struck down again. The final blow created a huge explosion. Hua Tan Van returned the sword to its sheath in a cool pose and praised herself. Nice. Nyin happily said, I told you that Brother Hua is coming, right? Ngui Nyen in front had eyes sparkling with admiration. Only the 2 disciples behind were trembling in shock. Am I not dreaming? Is our sect's introductory sword technique actually that powerful? Is Senior Brother Hua really that terrifying? The body of the evil Van, old ancestor, gradually disappeared. He wondered why. Hua Van looked down and said disdainfully, I've been working in the job center for so many years and I've already seen through your tricks. Dare to draw a cake in front of me. Really bring shame on yourself. Old ancestor Ta Van used his remaining breath to ask again. Didn't I ask you why you are so strong? The body of the evil Van old ancestor disappeared, leaving only a purple pearl. Hua Tan Van Thu, it back to hand. Done. Suddenly, from where the evil Van Lao To's body disappeared, a purple object quickly flew away. Hua Tan Van looked and discovered that it was the soul of the evil Van Lao To. The true spirit had left his body. Hua Tan Van started Lin to prepare to chase, running away somewhere. Suddenly he stopped. The whole person shook with the sound of the bell. He took a watch out of his shirt. Look thoughtful, Hump. No longer continue chasing. Hua Tan Van changed direction and returned. Even though the primary rescue mission was completed, the confused disciples asked what Senior Brother Hoa was doing. It was obvious that he had added another sword strike. Why didn't he continue to pursue? Junior Brother Nguyen sighed and explained with a smile. Ha ha. You guys don't know. Brother Hua practices from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Nguyen pointed to the setting sun and said seriously, it was already after the hour of Tao. Fellow disciples, listen to this. Ngu was stunned and didn't know what to say. According to Senior Brother Hua, it was time to get off work now. In another place, Hua Tan Van was leisurely walking back and forth, sighing. The most annoying thing is that it's almost the end of working hours, and you still give me tasks, almost making me have to work overtime. The next day at Dong Huang Tan Van Chao Tan Van Kiam Tong, all the disciples in the sect were diligently practicing. One person flies on a sword. Some people practice swordsmanship. The disciples were practicing diligently under the hot sun. A disciple looked behind him and spoke in dissatisfaction. Look at that guy walking lazily. Another disciple also spoke up in dissatisfaction. Damn it! Who let him be the true disciple? From afar, Hua Tan Van was wearing a blindfold and lying in the shade, taking a nap. Then Hua Tan Van stretched, chest out, heart relaxed. He pulled the blindfold off and thought that it was already past midnight when he returned to the sect yesterday, causing him to not get enough sleep. Thinking about what happened yesterday, he sighed tiredly. If he had known, he wouldn't have become this damn true disciple. Just give me these troublesome tasks. Hoa Tan Van sadly remembered the days before she crossed over. Before she knew it, 5 years had passed. Because of the continuous 996 overtime work schedule with high intensity, Hoa Tan Van collapsed on her desk from exhaustion. And yet the boss scolded me for daring to be lazy in front of me. Get up and do your work. If you can't finish your work, don't leave work. Oh no, boss. It seems like he's not okay. Call 120 quickly. Let's give it to him first. I died suddenly and accidentally came to this fantasy world. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a new world, a new body, a new identity. I have crossed over. Here, my identity is a small, true disciple of Tan Van Kiem Tong. The image changes to the scene where the elders continuously criticize Hua Tan Van's behavior. Hua Tan Van, as a true disciple, you have to work even harder. What nonsense are you talking about saying that at your age, how can you sleep so well? You should be cultivating and forgetting to eat and sleep. You are truly lazy. I have never met anyone this lazy before. In order not to make the same mistake, we have made an absolute vow not to work overtime in this world. Absolutely no overtime. But Hua Tan Van looked at the image of the disciples in the sect, practicing crazily and helplessly, exhausted, and just didn't expect that there would be such fighting here. Suddenly, there was a voice calling, "Senior Brother." Hua Tan Van glanced over. "Brother Hua, the sect master is looking for you about yesterday's mission and wants to ask you for details. You guys didn't reveal my story, did you?" Ngui Nien heard that and clenched his fists excitedly. Surely without me, he would have negotiated with them already. Everyone didn't mention a word about Hoa Senior Brother's strength. Hua Tan Van patted his junior brother's shoulder and whispered, "Well done, I'll go first. Next time I have time, I'll teach you 2 moves." Guanyin turned back happily to thank. Many, many thanks, Hoa senior brother. He looked at the distant figure of Hoa Than Van and said goodbye to his senior brother Hoa. Hoa Tan Van was on his way to the main hall of the sect master, thinking as he walked. In the Shanyuan realm, the realms are divided into 6 levels, from low to high, respectively. Qi refining realm, flower spirit realm, and soul gathering realm. 6 palace realm, but the blue cloud flower has sealed its own strength. Next is the purple palace and Dang Tian realms. Each level of realm is divided into 9 levels, and this one is a heavyweight swordsman. The sect master of the Tan Van Kiem sect, a peerless expert, is in the 6th realm. Others gave him the nickname Tan Van Kiem Tan. Hua Tan Van raised his hand and happily said, "Good morning, sect master." The sect master looked down with a serious face. "Xiao Hua, be serious. This is the main hall." Hua Tan Van smiled lightly and took out a box. "I grow Van Tom tea. A few days ago, a batch of leaves ripened." Hearing this, the sect master paused. His expression immediately changed. Excited to the point of drooling, "Quickly come to my side. Quickly give me the taste of the last time I drank Van Tam tea. It's still the same as last time." Looking at the expression of the sect master, Hua Tan Van, he secretly smiled. Who would have thought that the Tan Van sword god would be a tea addict? But I borrowed modern knowledge to grow succulents and high-quality green plants, to make tea according to my interests, and connect with leaders. He smiled smugly in his heart, but it was a compulsory subject for employees. The sect master pretended to cough to hide his embarrassment and asked, "Cough, cough, what did you harvest last night? I heard the dead come back and say you saved them." Hua Tan Van avoided his gaze and took out a pearl, answering that it was just a coincidence. "I found this on a disciple of Ma Van Tong." The sect master was stunned as he looked at the pearl, the blood pearl. The atmosphere became heavy. The sect master took the pearl and asked, "Hua Tan Van, Xiao Hua, do you know what this means?" "Look at that pearl that emits small red lightning bolts," the sect master said with a serious face. "Ma Van Tong and the others actually want to." Before he could finish his sentence, Hua Tan Van crossed his arms and his face was covered in sweat, signaling his strong objection, not knowing, not wanting to listen, not caring. In order to avoid hearing the story, he quickly said goodbye and quickly ran away. "If the sect master has nothing else to do, then I will go back first. I'm sorry, sect master. I just want to leisurely pass my life. The troublesome matters should be left to others." The sect master called out, causing Hua Tan Van to stop. He angrily pointed at Hua Qingyun with a wrinkled face and blamed him. "Xiao Hua, it's not me, the sect master, who's talking about you. Although you have some talent in growing spirit tea, but as a true disciple, you cannot be so lazy. I asked you last week. It was clearly your turn to explain sword techniques to your disciples. Why didn't you go?" Hua Tan Van did not turn back to answer when it was my turn. It was already the hour of the rooster. Morning hour of the snake, afternoon hour of the rooster. This is my secret, please understand, sect master. The sect master yelled again, angry that you had escaped the swordsmanship meeting. So the 4 sect masters came to find me. Said he wanted to abolish your position as a true disciple. Hearing this, Hua Tan Van stopped and asked if they really said that. The sect master thought that Hua Qingyun was feeling sad and a little regretful. Did I say too much? Xiao Hua. Unexpectedly, he turned around with a bright smile. That's great. I'll become your inner disciple and see if anyone dares to say anything about me being lazy in the future. When will the sect master revoke my status as a true disciple? Hearing this, the sect master's blood pressure rose and he clenched his fists in anger and shouted, "You!" Unable to hold back any longer, the sect master exploded, pointing at Hua Qingyun, dreaming of going to Qingyun sword sect. Since its founding until now, there has never been a precedent among my true disciples and the elders. Hua Tan Van's eyes were filled with sadness. Damn it! I knew there was no such thing as a good thing. Outside, a female voice attracted the attention of the 2 people. They bowed to the sect master and senior brother Ha. "O Kiem Tam, You're here. Kim Tam walked to Hua Tanvan. Her eyebrows furrowed as she asked the tens of thousands of inner sect disciples who worked day and night just to become true disciples. Brother Hoa, why do you want to give up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? The person who just arrived is the top true disciple of Tan Van Kiem Tong, Nyak Kiem Tam. Hua Tan Van looked at her in amazement. Kim Tam, the true disciple of Tan Van Kiem Tong, was a beautiful young woman. At a young age, she already had the cultivation of Tu Fu realm. Her strength and reputation were both top-notch. Hua Tanvan and Kiem Tam are truly complete opposites. A person considered the future of Tan Van Kiem Tong. One is the 55th ranked true disciple of the Tan Van Kiem sect. Hua Tanvan closed her eyes and said, Junior sister Nyak, you don't know that I've been stuck in Linlung realm for a long time, so want to start from the inner gate, strengthen the foundation, and then break the knot. Taking advantage of the opportunity from the lowest place is called reviewing the old and knowing the new. Speaking up to here, Huathan Van's eyes were full of determination and looked extremely serious. Hearing that, she was surprised. She did not expect that her senior brother would have such a progressive mind and would think deeply about the path of cultivation, completely different from the rumors. Seeing that Kiem Tam's mind was being manipulated, the sect master was speechless and didn't know what else to say. It was because his sword heart was shallow. Sigh, junior sister, you're too polite. The sect master interrupted the two of them. Xiao Hua, the reason why Kiem Tam came here is because the sect masters made a request of you. Hua Tanvan and Kiem Tam wondered, what is the request? The sect master laughed and said, they want you to carry out the mission with Kiem Tam to learn the diligent virtues of the top disciple. Hua Tanvan heard, and his whole body stiffened. He took a breath and asked, Sect master, are you joking? Because of too much sweat, his whole body is like a shriveled corpse. When thinking about the image of the enthusiastic and energetic junior sister, Nyak Kim Tam, who had stirred up the fighting scene in the sect, he was called the King of Fighting Kings. This person cannot cooperate with me. How can he go on missions together? The more Hua Tanvan thought about it, the more scared he became. The sect master frowned and spoke in reproach. Xiao Hua Jianxin is the top true disciple of our sect. So many people lined up waiting to be taught by him. And now you and he are doing such a good opportunity to do a mission together. What are you dissatisfied about? Hua Tanvan frowned and racked his brain to politely refuse. My sect master is just worried that I am too immature and will let my junior sister run wild. Hua Tanvan also secretly hoped that Kiem Tam also thought the same as him. Junior sister, you also don't want me to be a burden, right? But life is not like a dream. Nat Kiem Tam spoke up to refute. Senior brother thinks too much. Her eyes were sparkling. Her whole body was full of enthusiasm. We are all fellow students, so we should support each other and progress together, she happily said. Furthermore, Brother Hua, you can also take advantage of this mission to prove yourself and dispel the rumors about you outside. On the outside, Hua Tanvan smiled gently and said nothing. But on the inside, he was extremely panicked and wanted to find a solution. At best, wanted to destroy me. And I also wanted to be caught up in the fight. Finally, Hua Tanvan clasped her hands and seriously said to the sect master, Sect master, I'm not too worried about my mission. I'm just worried about the tea leaves. No one will take care of them. Speaking softly, but actually threatening the sect master, making his face darken. Sect master, you want me to do the mission, and you don't hesitate to invite junior sister Yue. But I am a principled person who can be idle in the sect. Why do I have to go out to work with this little girl? The sect master held up 3 fingers. Makes Ha Tanvan confused. The sect master had no choice but to look serious and said to Tanvan, as long as you can complete the mission, the sect master will give you 3 days off. In Hua Tanvan's mind, he repeated the sect master's words in surprise, 3 days off. Hua Tanvan's whole body was filled with energy immediately. It shone like the sun of truth shining through her heart. He held the sect master's hand tightly. The level of enthusiasm must be said to be eye-catching. He was very sincere and serious. He said to the sect master, this matter cannot be delayed. Quickly tell me the content and location of the mission. Seeing Haven's attitude change 180 degrees, Tong could only feel disdain and anger in his heart, but could not say it out loud. Hua Tan Van. Even if I have to go through fire and smoke, I will definitely not give up. At noon, Yak Kim Tam was concentrating on practicing swordsmanship. Hua Tan Van yawned and walked away. Yo, junior sister Nhak, you're so patient. Kiem Tam stopped, his whole body covered in sweat, and asked, Senior brother Hoa, you're a moment late. Dan Van folded her arms and said indifferently, If you don't sleep at noon, you won't have the spirit to do so, junior sister. Swordheart goes forward. Speaking of reason, cultivating is important, and taking advantage of everything. I came here on time at noon. I have already swung 3,000 swords, but you, a spiritual realm cultivator, are acting like a mortal who needs to sleep. Finally looked straight at Hua Tan Van and concluded with a sentence, too lazy. Hua Tan Van felt tickled by what was said. Avoiding Kiem Tam's gaze, she said, Ah, yes, junior sister is right. After I return, I will definitely cultivate even harder. Why is junior sister still so young and yet she is already babbling like an elder? Then Nyakyam Tam sighed. Time is running out. Let's go. Both of them set off on a mission. They crossed the mountain ranges at a very fast speed. Brother Ha, what do you think about this mission? The sect master sent us to investigate the missing villagers in Tien Van Mountain. And Tien Van Mountain is close to Tan Hu Tan, which was sacrificed by blood. Hua Tan Van replied as he flew. I suspect that the reason those villagers disappeared for no reason is related to Ma Tong. That's right. I also think so. Suddenly, Kiem Tam spoke up to reassure him. Senior brother, don't worry. Even though you've just reached the Lin Lung realm, I will protect you. Hua Tan Van happily replied, Thank you, junior sister. I didn't expect junior sister Nyak to be so trustworthy. Hua Tan Van secretly felt pleased in her heart that not only was she able to flatter him, but after finishing the job, she also got 3 days off. This time, she really got a good deal. He was so happy that even the sun turned into a smiling face. Thank you, sect master. In the afternoon, Hua Tan Van and Kiem Tam landed on the cliff to observe. They had arrived. This place was Tien Van Mountain. Not paying attention to Kiem Tam Tan Van's words, he only cared about finding things. Brother Hoa, let's look for the villagers here to find clues. Brother Hoa, what do you think? Kiem Tam looked at Tan Van in confusion. He was looking at the clock that started counting down. 5, 33, 2, 1. The countdown ended, and he happily shouted that the hour of the rooster had come. Saying that, he ran down the mountain, leaving Kiem Tam behind, not understanding what was happening. I have to go rest. Then I'll leave the matter of asking the villagers to you to take care of. See you tomorrow. Into the village. Hua Tan Van entered Huang Lao. Inside the shop, there was no one but the owner. The treasurer rented me a room. The boss looked up with a gloomy face and replied with a tale of silver. The two men handed over money in one hand and the key in the other. The second-floor room was on the left at the end of the hallway. When the boss held the silver Tan Van flower, he discovered that his hand now had black patterns spreading. It seems like he found something, but then sighed. Never mind. Now, it's time to rest. Tan Van went upstairs, then went to bed to rest, wondering how junior sister Nhak's investigation went. At midnight, Hua Tan Van was awakened by the noise. All the rooms were taken, and there were no more vacant rooms. The treasurer clearly said that his guests were empty, so why wouldn't he let me stay? I wouldn't have paid. Tan Van sat up with a start. I fell asleep again. He was half awake and half asleep when he heard the noise outside. This sound sounded so familiar. Outside, Kiem Tam is arguing with the treasurer. Are you complaining that I don't have enough money? I've already said it's all gone, you should still go. Suddenly, there was a voice calling her back. Junior musician sister. The person called Hua Tan Van was leaning against the pillar. If the treasurer said there were no more rooms, then don't make things difficult for him anymore. Brother Hua, why are you here? Hua Tan Van leaned against the wall and looked at the treasurer and said, Treasurer, I'll let my junior sister stay in the same room with me. Will it be okay? The treasurer bowed his head and avoided management as you like. Only Nak Kim Tam still doesn't understand the situation, staying in the same room with you. Seeing Tan Van go upstairs to Kim Tong, he regained his composure. His eyes broadened in surprise. Senior brother Hoa, come to me unless you want to sleep on the street. Kiem Tam hesitated, embarrassed and red in the face. Kiem Tam followed up. Looking at Tan Van's face, she breathed a sigh of relief. Right, we don't do anything dirty, so why are we ashamed? She imagined herself beating Hua Qingyun to a pulp. Moreover, Hua brother was only in the Linlung realm, so she could completely protect herself. Tan Van sat at the table while eating and asked her junior sister, "Have you had dinner yet?" She was still embarrassed and lowered her head to answer, "I haven't." "Look at the plate of cake on the table." Tan Van asked if she wanted to eat something. Hearing about eating, Kim Tam once again explained, "Our senior brother is a practitioner, so we must be pure-minded, abstain from desire, and escape from the temptation of food. Only with a pure mind can..." While talking, suddenly a cake was stuffed into his mouth. Kiem Tam blushed and covered her mouth, but she still chewed. The sweet taste melts in the mouth, making Kiem Tam New's soul sore. This cake is sweet, but not sweet. It melts in the mouth and has a light fragrance, like a cool stream of water flowing into the dantian. I'm about to drown in this sweet cake. After finishing the cake in her mouth, she regained her spirit. She was embarrassed and asked Tan Van's senior brother Hua, "Why did you use cake to sneak attack me?" Tan Van just gently looked at her and asked, "Is it delicious?" She avoids his eyes and stagnant, "Aye, it tastes very delicious." Even though she had already eaten, Kiem Tam still stubbornly argued, but food like this was not beneficial for cultivation, so it was better to eat less. Tisk, 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 this is not right. Has junior sister ever thought about whether it is possible to practice and travel 1,000 miles a day by avoiding vegetables, meat, and the mundane world? Kiem Tam wondered and asked again, "Is it not true?" Hua Tan Van denied it. No. You and I are both walking in this world. How can you and I avoid everything in this world? Running away will only make your body and mind tired and tied up, making it difficult for you to continue your cultivation. Yun dun trong such, jung pai san, o javang laiko sao. Vitalam sa luin, Hua Tan Van explained while pointing at the cake on the table. I believe that true cultivators dare to face the temptations of reality head on. Just like this cake. If you are afraid that it is delicious, it will make you mentally disturbed. Then you should try to get used to it. Wait until you can make it and treat this cake as an ordinary object without being disturbed. Then you will truly have entered the realm of cultivation. Having said that, Hua Tan Van recited a poem, his entire body emitting a halo that made Kiem Tam blink his eyes dry. Clearing the mind, able to see the truth, using the truth to meet the truth, all appearances will appear, unstained in appearance, freely manifest, freely as usual, that is not natural. Hua Tan Van opened her eyes and looked. Seeing Kiem Tam's bewildered face made him panic. Oh no, I was so excited that I talked too much. Surely this kid's brain won't die? Suddenly, the music of Kiem Tam woke up and said,
"Senior brother Hua, I have realized it."
Hua Tan Tam was a bit surprised by her actions. Only by facing and giving up desires can one return to the original state of enlightenment. She said, then turned around and ate the cake like crazy as if she was starved. Tan Van stood to the side and cried in her heart, "You're crazy. Stop eating my breakfast." Hua Tan Van was so angry that he could only go to bed and sleep. Sorry, junior sister, today you're temporarily lying on the ground. Go find a place to eat and be happy. Say to senior brother, I'm fine. I won't sleep. Just sit quietly and meditate. Late night. Kiem Tam is meditating. Tan Van was lying on the bed, sleeping soundly. A mysterious man stood at their door. Little girl, I wanted to forgive you, but don't blame me. He burned a stick of incense in front of the room and left. That scent through the door. Fly to Kiem Tam. Where is the strange smell? Smelling a strange smell, she opened her eyes with a start. Everywhere is a purple haze, dangerously poisonous. By the time she reacted to the situation, the poison had already entered her body. She lay down. Looking towards Hua Tan Van's bed, brother Hua quickly ran. But strangely, he was resting his chin on the bed, completely awake, watching her slowly pass out. Brother Ha. Inside a forest, a trembling man walked forward. I knelt down before the mysterious disciple of Than Van Kiem Tong, who had been knocked unconscious by me using the Lin Huang fragment. The person kneeling below turned out to be the treasurer. He trembled as he reported the situation. Among them, one person was the true disciple of the Than Van Kiem sect, not Kiem Tam. The other person was unknown, and was only known as Hua Brother. The mysterious man looked down with interest. "Oh, I didn't expect you to be able to make Nak Kiem Tam faint. As for Brother Hua, I've never heard of him. He's probably just a follower." Treasurer Runran continued. Luckily, he had the Lord's hidden breath talisman, so they didn't discover him. The mysterious man was a white-haired man wearing a hood. He had 3 scars on his left cheek. He smiled sinisterly and looked at the treasurer. "Ha ha, you've made a great achievement this time." The treasurer saw this and was both happy and scared. He opened his mouth and begged the Lord for his wife and son. The white-haired guy flew closer to the treasurer. "Don't worry, they're still alive and well. Now I'll take you to meet them." The treasurer was happy to thank him, but he did not expect danger to be approaching. "Thank you, sir. Tell us." As soon as he finished speaking, he was struck in the heart by a palm strike, causing blood to splatter everywhere. The white-haired pervert licked the blood off his hand, then laughed loudly, raised both hands to the sky, haha. The final sacrifice. Finally, it's almost done. He called out number 3 and number 4. A man and a woman with purple hair appeared. He turned around and ordered 2 people to go to the guest and capture 2 disciples of Tan Van Kiem Tam to come here. At the moment, Kiem Tam is gradually waking up. "Watan Van said you're awake, Brother Hua." Kiem Tam suddenly jumped up in panic and shouted, "No, that's not right. Let's go quickly. This place is very dangerous." Watan Van calmly looked at Kiem Tam's reaction. Kiem Tam was still breathing heavily, then found out I was fine and was confused. Carrying a question, he asked, "Why are you okay? With Brother Hua's strength, you should have fainted faster than me." Watan Van stood up and replied that when I slept, I used the fetus to meditate, unlike you guys who circulated spiritual energy, so I didn't inhale the spirit fragrance. I waited, and the person in the dark didn't move, so I chased away all the scent in the room and helped you detoxify. Huayathan Van looked at the incense on the table and sighed. But it is the Lin Huang section. Cultivators below the 5th level of the Tufu realm find it difficult to resist the poison of this incense. Huatan Van spoke up to remind her, "Junior sister, your life experience is still very new. You cannot be careless. If you go out on a mission alone this time, the consequences will be unimaginable." Kiem Tam realized and bowed to thank his senior brother for saving him. She will definitely pay more attention in the future. Hua Tan Tam poured a cup of warm tea and handed it over to her junior sister. "Why do you have to be so polite? Come have some tea to warm yourself up." "Thank you, senior brother." Receiving the cup of tea, Kiem Tam's heart was filled with thoughts. In the rumor, Brother Hua is just a true disciple. Laziness has become a habit, but I didn't expect that just a few sentences from him would make me realize the magic of cultivation, always maintaining vigilance to save my life. Kiem Tam blushed and peeked at Hua Tanvan, who was drinking tea, carefully evaluating. Thoughtful personality and appearance were not bad. Unfortunately, it was the cultivation. Kiem Tam woke up from her thoughts. "Wait, what am I thinking?" Hoathan Van suddenly turned around and asked, making her stiffen, "Junior sister, how is your recovery?" Kiem Tam quickly waved her hand and replied, coughed, "Thank you, senior brother, for your concern. Kiem Tam is no longer a problem. Could it be that he has feelings for me? Oh, that's good." In the middle of the air, suddenly a purple light appeared. A woman was flying towards him at high speed. Kiem Tam discovered the spiritual power movement. She held the sword to shield Huathan Van. It had murderous intent. She turned back and said, "Brother Hoa, be careful." But what made her so surprised that she couldn't put it into words was that Huatan Van calmly went back to bed and continued sleeping. "If you've recovered, then I'll have to trouble you, junior sister. Anyway, now is not my working time." Kiem Tam had no choice but to fly out and fight alone, leaving those 2 people both at the Purple Palace realm. Senior brother Hoa was only at the Spirit Lung realm, but coming here would only cause more trouble. Kiem Tam flew out. Holding the sword in my hand, I thought you were just suppressing your shame and delusions and turning them into anger to attack. You guys came at the right time. Kiem Tam used all her strength to throw a punch, the other two flying to the ground that make an explosion. Kiem Tam, from above looking down below. The other two are from the fourth sect, in the Eastern Wilderness Purple Spirit sect. Kiem Tam looked at them and asked the two true disciples of Tu Lin sect why they were here. Their eyes. Kiem Tam looked into their eyes. All of them were soulless, without any focus. It was the evil blood koi spell that sealed the soul and turned it into a puppet. The other two were controlled and started using spiritual power to attack the sword heart. This was the magic of the demon sect. The disappearance in Vankan village was indeed caused by them playing tricks behind their backs. Kiem Tam dodged the attacks while thinking. These two people's strength is also at the level of the third and fourth layers of the palace realm. The attack of those two people passed. Kiem Tam stood in the air and said at the right moment, "I'm also a bit unhappy right now," she said while smiling dangerously. The azure cloud sword decides to cut off the clouds and cut them off. Tanvan, sword decision. Tuakvan, severed. The attack is coming soon. Two disciples of Tu Lin also quickly jumped up to escape, but who would have thought that Kiem Tam would point his finger forward and knock down, saying the word, disperse. The spiritual power from the move, Tuakvan, cut off the fluctuations and spread out. They become darts that fly towards the opponent and attack. The other two disciples were beaten to a pulp and fell to the ground. On this side, Huatan Van used his divine sense to observe everything that had just happened. Oh, but it can actually separate the sword light that has been slashed. Huatan Van put his hand on his head and thought, but if it was like that, his strength would also decrease. Using divine sense to observe the battle was also convenient. There was no need to blur his eyes. Those two disciples of the Tu Lin sect would not fall easily. The female disciple was so angry when she saw her younger brother injured that she said, "You dare to do that." Her eyes stared lifelessly at her younger brother, her whole body radiating a murderous aura. The purple aura appeared more and more, surrounding her. The sword heart looked at her from above. Slowly standing up, she was also surprised that her consciousness had not yet completely returned to normal. She still had some personal consciousness. "I want you dead." While saying that, she held his baton and ran quickly towards Kiem Tam, her eyes filled with murderous intent. She stomped one foot on the ground as a pillar, causing the nearby rocks and soil to crack. She jumped high, causing the surrounding rocks to shatter and fly away. Jumping high above Kiem Tam's head, Kiem Tam swung his stick down with all his might. Kiem Tam was a bit surprised by her speed. Luckily, she reacted in time and quickly used his sword to block the attack. But there was a bit of difficulty that made her frown uncomfortably. She could actually use such a heavy weapon. The two people just held each other like that, and then counterattacked to push the opponent away. Then there was a chaotic fight in the air that shook the heavens and the earth. Separated, Kiem Tam had to stagger to support his body. What kind of strange power is this? The shock made his hand numb. The girl screamed, put force into her arm, and turned the clutch continuously. Then she struck straight at Kiem Tam. The strike was very long. Each part was a strong vibration, but Kiem Tam still smoothly avoided and flew higher. Kiem Tam looked down, curled his lips, raised her sword, and prepared to strike a probing blow. Hoa Tanvan's side was still leisurely lying down, watching the match. As expected of a top disciple, after a short period of interaction, she was able to guess how deep her opponent was. Tanvan opened one eye slightly to observe. Although the two of them were also at the Tu Futuin realm, the Tu Lin sect disciple, whose consciousness was sealed and could only rely on her fighting instinct, was at a disadvantage. Kiem Tam closed his eyes and raised her sword high, then put in bag. Then he pulled it out again. Surrounding her now was a powerful blue vortex, like a storm. The girl held the stick tightly, trying to prevent her body from being sucked in. Tanvan was observing with a bit of worry, but it seemed that junior sister Nyak still hadn't discovered the danger. He reached out and grabbed a leaf, saying this would probably be enough. Kiem Tam is still concentrated. Tan Tam's sword decision, sword technique. She waved her hand. A long sword stroke was magnified. It rushed towards the female disciple of the Tu Lin sect. The attack came so fast and so unexpectedly that she couldn't dodge the sword energy that rushed towards her and sent her flying. The ground cracked, and the surrounding trees were also broken by the attack. All that was left behind was dust and a pile of broken objects. Looking at the female disciple trembling on the ground, Kiem Tam slowly walked forward, seemingly able to subdue them. Next, she had to think of a way to wake them up. Kiem Tam did not realize that behind her back there was a mysterious hand holding a fan using spiritual power. It released spiritual power as fast as lightning and rushed towards Kiem Tam. Oh no! By the time she realized there was danger, it was already very close. She quickly created a protective barrier, but time is too short. The fragile barrier is easily broken. As the barrier disappeared, a green beam of light flew towards it, successfully redirecting the attack, grazed the cheek and crashed into the mountain behind, creating a huge explosion. Kiem Tam turned her head and looked back in panic. The one who just attacked was the remaining male disciple. He was still standing, his injured body shaking. If she had been hit by that move, she would have been seriously injured. Kiem Tam quickly rushed forward with many thoughts in her mind. What is that green light? She rushed behind the male disciple. It was a leaf. She used her sword to hit him on the back of the neck, knocking him out. Who was it that saved her in the end? Returned to the room, Kiem Tam brought the two unconscious disciples, blocked spiritual power, and placed them on the chair. While Kiem Tam was still thinking, Hua Tan Van sat up and said, "It seems you've finished solving it," Kiem Tam asked in confusion. "Senior brother Hoa, you were just now." Not letting her finish asking, Hua Tan Van interrupted, "I've always been lying here." He looked up and smiled slightly. "What's wrong?" Seeing this, Kiem Tam quickly waved her hand and shook his head. No, it's okay, I'm thinking too much. After all, Hua brother is only a Lin Lung realm Luke Trung. How could he have such a method? Kiem Tam pointed at the two people sitting on the chair and gave an idea. "Senior brother, while the true spirits of these two people are no longer there, we must quickly bring them back to the sect and invite the elders to arrange a mind-purifying and evil-exorcising magic formation and dispel the magic spell." Kiem Tam worriedly looked at Hua Tan Van, who was thinking on the bed. "But like this, the people of Matong will run away and cause trouble elsewhere." For the people of the world, he sighed and thought to himself. Because of the 3 days off, he activated his spiritual power and rubbed his wrist. It seemed that he could only let me take action. Kiem Tam wondered and looked at Diep Pham's hand and asked his senior brother, "What are you trying to do?" Hua Tan Van explained, "I want to use my divine sense to enter their sea of Po consciousness and pull out the blood puppet worm." Kiem Tam worriedly wanted to step forward to stop him. "Senior brother, you're crazy. The Sea of Danger is where a cultivator's true spirit is stored. If you're not careful, the true spirit will be destroyed." Hua Tan Van placed both hands on their heads and started doing it. "Don't worry, junior sister." Seeing this, Kiem Tam became even more worried and panicked. "Wait, senior brother, are you trying to simultaneously pull out the blood seed from these two people's bodies? This is against the heavens." Hua Tan Van turned around with confident eyes and said, "Saving people is like putting out a fire. Working at the same time is faster." Hearing that, Kiem Tam became more worried and anxious. The key point was not whether it was fast or not, but whether it was safe or not. The female disciple just woke up. She saw her younger brother standing happily in front of her. "Tuvan, you're awake." Then she rubbed her eyes to regain consciousness. Fong Ni. She noticed someone and glanced over cautiously. "You are disciples of Thang Van Kim Tong." Kiem Tam stood to the side, happily introducing. "Hello, Miss Tu Van. I am Nak Kiem Tam. This is my senior brother, Hua Tan Van." Fong Ni smiled and explained. "Sister Van, this is the top disciple of Tan Van Kim Tong's Nahak Kiem Tam. They saved us." At this moment, Tu Van held his aching head and said, "I remember now." She remembered the image before losing consciousness. We were captured by the demon sect elders. Hua Tan Van wanted to understand the situation better and asked, "Can you tell me how you were captured?" Tu Van frowned and slowly recalled. "A week ago, Fong Ni and I were ordered by the sect to investigate the disappearance of the villagers. Then we investigated and found out a Ma Tong elder, but still conduct sacrifices with the blood of villagers. But we fell into the trap that the opponent has set in advance. finally suppressed. The more she thought back, the more she couldn't believe what had happened. She couldn't believe that I had been turned into a blood demon by evil magic. Having said this, Tuvan knelt down, clasped her hands together, and thanked the two for saving his life. Kiamtam quickly refused. No need for thanks, she said, then extended his hand towards Huatan Van, who was leisurely drinking tea. The person who saved you is my senior brother. Tuvan quickly corrected himself, thanking Mr. Hua for his help. The life-saving grace will be repaid. No need for formalities. Kim Tom stood aside, lost in her thoughts just now. She remembered the image of the black gas flying out from Fong Ni and Tu Van's mouths. All were collected by Than Van, senior brother, who had pulled out the blood from these two people. Everything happened so fast and dangerously that her eyes broadened in shock, astonishment, and panic. Hoatan Van gently resolved everything. He withdrew his hand, breathed lightly, and said, "Done." Their minds were filled with unexplained questions. The blood puppet insect was buried deep within their sea of consciousness under circumstances that would not endanger their lives. But pulling it out would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Even the sect elders were not sure of this operation. Kiem Tam turned around and asked with admiration, "Kan Van's senior brother, when did you master this technique?" Huatan Van's casual words made Kiem Tam quite frightened. Previously, while killing time at the Tang Kinkak, he accidentally read a book on manipulating the spirit's incomplete technique. He found the content very interesting, so he read the incomplete version, so it was still not the complete technique. "Brother, you are playing with fire." Huatan Van casually said that it made Kiem Tam quite scared. Previously, while killing time at Tang Kinkak, he accidentally read a book of incomplete divine mind manipulation techniques. He felt that the content was very interesting, so he read the incomplete version, so it was still not the complete technique. Back to the present. Hoathan Van's appearance was difficult to describe. Just to save them, I had already spent quite a few of my heavenly talent and earthly treasures, which were approximately 30,000 top-grade spirit stones. Kiem Tam stood to the side, puffing her cheeks and snorting slightly. "It was obvious that you did it casually. Why did you need to use any natural treasure?" They are not stupid enough to agree, but there was indeed a fool who clasped his hands in gratitude and agreed. "Brother, rest assured, after we return to the sect, we will definitely offer spirit stones of corresponding value." Hearing that, Kiem Tam was confused, and only Huathan Van smiled smugly. But he actually agreed. Huatan Van curled his lips and thought to himself, before, everyone had admitted that the mind-clearing formation that could dispel the blood puppet technique would require at least more than 50,000 top-grade spirit stones. Setting up the formation, 30,000 was already a friendly price. It couldn't be done for free. Kiem Tam stood to one side, her face full of anger, glaring at Tan Van, who was happily not in a hurry. Tan Van Kiem Tong and Tuling Tong are now in a relationship. Helping you is our duty. Huatan Van suddenly asked, "Right, can you two fellow Taoists remember the specific situation when the demon sect elder captured you?" Tu Van recalled saying, "His name is Mak Heen. His frontal fighting ability is nothing. I alone can catch him. But he is good at using magic and poison. We were poisoned by him and passed out." Huathan Van knocked on the table and gave her own idea. "So that's it then. It's simple. I have a pill that can make you immune to poison for 3 hours. Do you three have the confidence to subdue the elders of the Mavan sect?" Tuvan heard that and immediately said excitedly, "If I can be immune to the poisonous scent, then I can kill him in the blink of an eye." She suddenly stopped thinking that was wrong. Tuvan asked curiously, causing Huatan Van to stiffen and sweat profusely. "Why are there 3 of us, fellow Taoist Hua? Aren't you coming with us?" Huatan Van coughed and said, "Actually, just now, dispelling the Koitrung theory for you all has cost me quite a bit of spiritual power." Looking at senior brother Kiem Tam's pretend to be weak to avoid work, she wanted to say, "I'm afraid he needs to sleep to recover." The other 2 people heard that and immediately felt guilty that we were so clumsy and didn't see how hard fellow Taoist Hua worked. "Fellow Taoist Hua can rest assured and leave the rest to us. I'll have to trouble you 3. Hearing the conversation between the 3 of them, Kiem Tam understood clearly, but was helpless. A moment later, the three of them set off. Holding the pill in her hand, Tuvan was a bit suspicious. Is this pill really as miraculous as Taoist Hua said? Kiem Tam held the pill in her hand and firmly said, I believe in Brother Hua. Then they all put the pill in their mouths and swallowed it. The medicine was put into the mouths of two disciples of the Tu Lin sect, and they commented, it dissolves in the mouth. It seems to be no different from normal pills. Taoist Hua's cultivation isn't high, but it's not that I don't believe him. Dark clouds gradually appeared in the sky, eclipsed the moon. Kiem Tam discovered something and spoke up. Wait, that's not quite right. Fong Ni turned back and said that it seemed that since half a stick of incense ago, there had been no more breath of living beings. Tuvan held the weapon in his hand, defensively alert. Could it be? All around them were red eyes lurking. A voice rang out, It seems you have entered my formation. This Kiem Tam turned around. Swing out many sword strokes. Slash those red eyes. Those eyes turned into red liquid and fell into the mud. Kiem Tam opened her eyes and looked back. Only saw demonic energy flying out in mud. Where did this swamp come from? The land turned into a swamp. The surrounding trees were also corroded. This black mud seemed to be the corpses of dead creatures that had turned into corpses bound by the formation. The resentment here was too thick. Kiem Tam stepped forward and asked, Did you see the person who just spoke? Behind Kiem Tam, a mysterious person wearing a black cloak appeared. Looking for me? The person who appeared was Mak Hien. He smiled evilly and walked over. Hearing a voice behind them, the three of them turned back at the same time. Old thief Mak Hien. Mak Hien looked at the two disciples of Tu Lin sect and frowned, saying, How can you spit out my blood seed so quickly? Then glanced at Kiem Tam, who was in an attack stance. It seems that this Tan Van Kiem Tong's eldest disciple has a secret treasure on her. Seeing that there were only 3 people, he immediately mocked. Why is one person missing? Or is it because he heard my great name that he got scared? Tuvan gritted her teeth and used all his anger to charge forward. I'm enough to deal with a piece of trash like you. The stick just hit down. The surrounding rocks were broken. Tuvan was surprised, but did not hit anyone. But there is a strange black air coming. Mak Hien avoided laughing. Aha already suffered a loss once, and still fell into the trap. Fong Ni rushed from behind. Shut up, you're about to die. He used his spiritual power to attack, but Mak Hien just smiled lightly. He used poison gas to lightly block the attack. You righteous disciples are all idiots. He, behind the poisonous gas, smiled evilly. Does my real bone fragrance smell good? Ha ha ha. Fong Ni and Tuvan inhaled the poisonous gas and were panic-stricken. A beam of green light was slashing down from above. Mak Hien still disregarded using poison gas to block the hit, but then he suddenly changed his feelings. That sword easily dispels poisonous gas. Then create an explosion, smoke and dust everywhere. Kiem Tam and the other 2 looked down, but except for a hole, there was not a soul. Kiem Tam frowned and gritted his teeth. I haven't hit the target yet. Suddenly, there was a black aura surrounding her. Is toxic gas. Mak Hien's body gradually gathered. Nak Kiem Tam really has some skills. He emitted poisonous gas from above in all directions. He looked down at the ground, meaning it was useless. You guys have been hit by my real bone incense. He pointed down. It was now past 10 breaths. Fall down for me. The smoke gradually cleared. He looked again closely. Not right. Below, there were only 2 people, Kiem Tam and Fong Ni, who raised their lips and looked up. Tuvan was now behind him, swinging his stick and advancing. Why was one person missing? The stick suddenly hit him in the back, causing him to vomit blood. His eyes seemed to pop out and filled with tears. He was hit from above and crashed to the ground. Then Fong Ni also rushed to attack. He released many purple rays of light, hit towards the motionless Mak Hien. Mak Hien got up. He kept coughing up blood. Cough, cough, cough. Bloodshot eyes looked up at the sky. Why aren't you poisoned? Tuvan pulled his eyes and stuck out his tongue at him. Impossible. Tuvan happily thought to herself, fellow Taoist Hua medicine is too formidable. If don't fear those tricks, dealing with the people of the demon sect is as easy as turning your hand. Mak Hien knelt on the ground, bowing his head in unwillingness. My real bone incense is more toxic than Duan Ling Xiang. Even if you block its breath, it will still be absorbed through the skin. Except for my unique antidote, there is no other pill that can cure the poison. Mac-Hien still did not understand. He frowned and thought, could it be that they had other secret treasures on them? Kiem Tom coldly looked down from above, preparing to strike. This was the end. Than Van's sword art. Mac-Hien wiped the blood from his mouth. Support your body to stand up, haha. That's the end. He flew higher. That's right. The game ends here. He created a red array from above, surrounding the three people, their sword hearts condensed into a heavenly blood-refining great formation. All three of them fell into a state of panic. What happened? How the Kiem Tom bit his lip and tried to endure. Mac-Hien is proud outside the formation. I told you a long time ago, you have already entered my formation. A mass of mud is rising on command. Number 1 deals with. Fong Ni broke out in a cold sweat and slowly turned around. A monster is crawling. It stood up. Its feet were also covered with mud. The body had taken shape, and it bared its sharp teeth and roars. Fong Ni and Tu Van felt its strength and feared the Blood Kui Tu Palace's 6 insects. The bloodthirsty guy smiled sinisterly. Kiem Tam glared warily. Mac-Hien outside folded his arms and smiled. Today you guys can't even think about leaving. He held up a small flame and said, I have already sent the number 2 of the 5th level Purple Palace Realm's Death Palace over there, including that daring guy hiding in the Cloud Village. Kiem Tam widened his eyes in panic. Oh no, Brother Ho is in danger. Hua Tan Tan Van is still sleeping now. A 6-eyed monster burst through his window, but the surprise was that there was no one on the bed. Hua Tan Van quickly went to sleep in the next room. Humph, wanting me to work overtime, is still too young. Thinking he could sleep peacefully, the door to the room exploded. The second monster entered the room. Hua Tan Van opened her eyes wide and was speechless. Monster number 2 is roaring its might, but was stopped by Tan Van's laughter. Ha ha ha. Hoa Tan Van got up from bed and said, If you can't find the person, can't you go back? He lifted his hair with his hand and frowned angrily at number 2, still wanting to drag other people into it. Inside the formation there was a fierce battle. Nak Kim Tom continuously swung his sword to attack, beat the number 1 blood. Number 1 stands there, gently conjures a mud shield that blocks all attacks. Tu Van from behind, holding a sharp stick and advancing. She rushed up and hit him in the back, but it was easily caught by one hand. Then he swung his arm and threw her away. Fong Ni stood behind, holding a fan and releasing purple fire, name Tu Van Fire. The flames turned into many chains and flew away. Go to number 1 and tighten it. His face was covered with blood. The whole person strained to break the chain. The chain just broke, and a sword also slashed past. Cut him in half. Kiem Tom holds the sword tightly in her hand, biting her lip. She stared at it, hoping that the sword strike just now could kill it. Blood number 1 body was cut in half, but it was not afraid. It used its hands to grab its lower body. Reconnecting the 2 severed body parts like this restores the original state. Seeing this scene, Kiem Tam became more and more confused. What? The blood puppet jumped up, throw a punch. That fist hit Fong Ni, causing him to cough up blood and fly far away. Be careful! Tu Van saw the person fall down and worriedly shouted, Fong Ni! Notice the bloodstains next to Fong Ni. Tu Van's eyes gradually lost calm. You dare to hit Fong Ni! She jumped up from the ground with such force that the surrounding rocks flew away. Her angry eyes, filled with murderous intent, struck the back of the number 1 blood puppet. The blood puppet was beaten in the air and fell to the ground. Kiem Tam went to Tu Van's side and said, This guy has endless power, and his abilities are so strong that sooner or later we will be worn down to death. Tu Van turned around and gave a countermeasure. I have a move that can directly turn him into dust. Kiem Tam is happy, really. But it takes time to gain momentum. Please help me prolong that time. Taoist Kiem Tam stood in front of the blood monk. Her face was covered in sweat, but she still insisted on giving it to me. Mac-Hien stood outside, laughing loudly and confidently. Ha ha! If you have any tricks, just use them. Number 1 is my most successful blood koi work. You are about to become my sacrifice. Feel something. He grinned slightly. Part 2 ended so quickly. It seems that the true disciple is very chicken. On Tan Van's side, the The second blood puppet was being tightly blocked by his spiritual power. Phew! This is dangerous. I almost killed him, Hua Tanvan said with an expressionless face. I cannot let the Ma Tong elders feel it. I just want to sleep peacefully, but you keep waking me up. Tanvan reached out to number 2. If that's the case, I'll give you a gift in return, he said. Then he grabbed the number 2 hair. Pull it up on the ground. Huatan Van observed the magic formation in the distance and estimated the distance. Locating, he raised the trembling number 2 up high over there. Number 2, pale and scared, living with no regrets. Right on target. He threw it away without mercy. Go. Number 2, the person who was blinded and thrown away at high speed, cried silently. Flying at such a fast speed, number 2 was scared to death and foamed at the mouth. Huatan Van looked at the mess in the room and thought it was still a while before the hour of the snake. Let's see if there are any good rooms left so can sleep a little longer. Number 1 continuously threw many punches at Kiem Tam. Kiem Tam used his sword to block the attack, but it's impossible. She was knocked away. She put her hands on her body to support herself. Wiping blood from her mouth, she breathed heavily. Look at the blood puppet smiling smugly over there. She thought that this blood puppet was getting stronger and stronger under the reinforcement of the magic formation. Mak Hien looked at Kiem Tam fighting below, as expected of the Tan Van Kiem Tong's eldest disciple, to be able to hold on until now. But it's almost over. Number 1, strikes. Number 1, listen to the command and jump up. Throw a punch forward. Kim Tam. Seeing that it was inevitable to have sword thoughts in my heart, Taoist Zi Yun apologized. I'm afraid Suddenly, a beam of light flew from the sky. Makheen turned back and looked wonderingly. What is that? An unknown object is rushing towards me at high speed. Then it flew through and broke the formation. Thick smoke and dust. Until the smoke clears. Kiem Tam was shocked and Makheen was frozen in place, sweating profusely. Under the mud is the second blood puppet, stuck in the ground. The first blood puppet is broken and cannot be restored. Makheen hugged his head and screamed in pain. Number 2, how could that be? Kiem Tam looked at the crack in the magic circle and was happy. Great, senior brother is fine. Is this an elder coming? Makheen heard that and was scared. The elder of Than Van Kim Tong has come. This is going to be troublesome. He reached out to control something. Had to run away quickly. A blood puppet rose from the mud again. Blood puppet strengthening magic. The blood demon jumped up and attacked Kiem Tam. Kiem Tam wanted to avoid, but was trapped by mud and couldn't move. Damn, what is this? At this moment, Tuvan rushed over with an iron rod. Fellow Taoist has been waiting for a long time. Fellow Taoist, Tuvan. Tuvan's whole body emitted purple lightning filled with aura as he rushed over. Mak Hien saw Tuvan Yu and was terrified. How could something as simple as a 4th level of the Purple Palace realm accumulate the spiritual power of an 8th level? Tuvan holds a stick to resist the blood puppet's attack. Death image is terrifying. From there came a great shock. A purple, spiritual explosion. The light spread to where Hua Tan Van was sleeping, but he was wearing a blindfold and sleeping soundly. The next morning, Hua Tan Van woke up after a stormy night. The first thing he did was go open the window to welcome the sunshine and breathe in the fresh air, but just happily opened his eyes. The first sighting was a thunderous explosion that was truly a peaceful nuclear-level day. Seeing this scene, Hua Tan Van sighed. Junior sister Nyak and the others were able to fight this Ma Tong elder all night long. It was truly not simple. Feeling finished, he rummaged through his pockets. He took out a watch to check the time. On the side of Nyak Kim Tam, the cracked formation gradually disappeared. Blood Puppet was critically attacked by Tuvan. Beat him into a puddle of mud. Suddenly, Tuvan sat down weakly, breathing heavily. Kim Tam looked at the power that Tuvan emitted and exclaimed, "It's truly an astonishing storm of power," Feng Ni explained from behind. This is the exclusive cultivation method of the Tulin sect. We can accumulate spiritual power and then explode it all in one breath. Feng Ni stepped forward to support Tu Van to continue speaking, but the disadvantage was also very obvious, that the word accumulation time was too long. Tu Van was gratefully helped to advance. This time, luckily Taoist Nyak helped to block it. Kim Tam shyly waved his hand. No, I'm just doing my duty. On top of the formation, Makian angrily spoke, the three beasts. Tuvan gritted his teeth and looked up. There was still one more spirit that needed to be dealt with. Makian radiated a fiery red spiritual power filled with murderous intent. You guys actually destroyed the number one that I spent decades cultivating. Tuvan picked up the stick and wanted to continue fighting, but was advised by Fong Ni beside her. Sister Van, don't rely on your strength anymore. That move just now is about to drain your spiritual power. Kim Tam said, leave this place to me. She used her spiritual power to fly into the air. Makian angrily released his spiritual power in the shape of a hand and rushed up. They flew to Kim Tam wanting to grab her. The sword heart raised the sword and slashed at them. Tan, Van, sword, Dharma. The sword slashes out and flies wherever it goes. It flew up near the top of the formation and exploded. When the claws were about to touch Kim Tam's body, she just calmly closed her eyes and waited. Many slashes appeared on that hand, and then disappeared. Kim Tam glanced up with angry eyes. Makian was sweating and gritted his teeth, hissing. That girl was so strong. Makian raised his hand and continued to strike. I want to see how many swords you can slash with. Kim Tam only opened his mouth and said one word, open. The magic formation under his feet cracked into many pieces. Then the crack grew larger and spread rapidly. Makian opened her mouth in shock. She looked at the wound that had been torn before. Mak Hein bit his lips and used his spiritual power to say, I didn't expect it. You can force me to this extent. Spiritual power from his hand. The blood went straight to his head and he vomited blood in pain, so what? His hand. His face gradually appeared wrinkles, which was a sign of aging. Kim Tam looked at that neither human nor ghost appearance in surprise, this is. He used his own blood to drip into a red ball with strange patterns inside. Kim Tam wanted to step forward to stop him, but that was not good. He wanted to use a secret technique and had to pay a heavy price. But before she could do anything, she was ambushed from behind. Oh no! The 8 acupoints that release spiritual power are sealed. Kim Tam worriedly turned back to ask how you guys were doing, but Fong Ni and Tu Van were once again controlled. Their eyes became lifeless. Ha! My blood magic can't easily dispel them so cleanly. But Makian smiled wickedly and ordered number 3 and number 4 to bring her here. Swordheart was held back and brought near Makian. Even though your talent is outstanding, in front of me you are just a little devil with a dirty nose. Kim Tam Nan gritted his teeth in anger, her eyes showing the will to rebel and kill him, using you as the first sacrifice. Makian raised his hand, emitting red spiritual power and sharp iron claws, and said, sacrifice it to my Tien Huyet Luyen formation. Unable to resist, Kim Tam closed her eyes and waited for death. I apologized to the sect master and the venerable master. As the eldest disciple of the sect, I was defeated by the demon sect. Thinking back to the moment she burst into tears, and there was also Brother Hua, I was too careless. When the claws were about to touch the swordsman's heart, a voice rang out to stop him. Hoa Tan Van stood majestically on high, said, let my junior go. Kim Tam and Makian looked over in surprise. Hua, senior brother. Seeing the person coming was Hua Than Van Makian. He was wondering where this monk from in the palace came from. Where was the elder of Tan Van Kiem Tong who killed Huyet Koi number 2? Hoa Tan Van sighed. Don't look anymore. This place is only me. Kim Tam was impatient and worried. She spoke up. Brother Hua, run away quickly. You are not his match. Mak Thien smiled evilly. Ha, you really want to show off, said, and then released spiritual power to attack Hoa Than Van. Then let's start with you first. Than Van calmly snapped his fingers. Suddenly, a purple spiritual power came from nowhere and destroyed his sharp iron claws. He was confused why. The injured hand was covered in blood. The person who just attacked Makian was Tu Van. You are number 3? He narrowed his eyes, his hands trembling in disbelief. This was a blood puppet that he had used his own blood essence to reactivate. Its power was several times stronger than normal, and even with a powerful magical treasure, it would be impossible to neutralize it in an instant. Fong Ni waved her hand and threw the chain at Ma Qian. Stop being lazy and watch the trick. Number 4, you are already like this. Tuvan jumped behind him and spun the stick, used the remaining strength to strike down with a punch that creates a violent earthquake. You go down. In the end, all that remained was a smoking crater. Kiem Tam worriedly walked closer to Hua Tan Van. She looked up and asked Brother Hua what was going on, but the response she got was Hua Tan Van's indifferent eyes. Tuvan stepped forward and asked Taoist Hua, "What are you doing?" Hua Tan Van smiled lightly and replied that it was just a little trick. Time goes back to last night, when entering the sea of consciousness to remove the blood puppet worm. Hua Tan Van saw the rootworms growing on their left chests. I discovered that the roots of the worm are closely tied to your true spirit. I'm afraid of harming the spirit, so I only remove the parasite from the outside. Hua Tan Van waved his hand and used his spiritual power to remove the surrounding roots for them. But it also means that you can always be manipulated again. So Hua Tan Van raised his hand to create many sword energies. I left a few sword energies in your sea of consciousness. When a demon sect elder activates the blood puppet, the sword energy can cut it. Tuvan and Fong Ni were both surprised, unable to believe that the crucial moment could turn the situation around. Tuvan heard and immediately clasped his hands and bowed his head in gratitude. It turns out that Hua Daoist's thoughts are truly exquisite. I truly admire you. Kiem Tam said with a sad face, "Brother Hua, why didn't you tell me what if the plan failed?" Seeing his junior sister's dissatisfied expression, Hua Tan Van was confused and didn't know what to say. It's already a success. What are you still hesitating for? Hua Tan Van sighed. Junior sister, don't feel like you don't exist if you can't catch him. Hua Tan Van started to flatter that this time he could defeat the demon sect elder. You are the key figure. Kiem Tam was surprised and confused. Really? Hua Tan Van recalled the time when Kiem Tam was captured and said helplessly, if the junior sister was not trapped in the dark, how could she have used realistic acting techniques to deceive the cunning elder of the demon sect? Tuvan also nodded in agreement. That's right. How can we easily get close to that old thief? Kiem Tam was led to believe it in a daze. Then she turned to look at Hua Tan Van with eyes of admiration. Although senior brother Hua has a low cultivation base, he did not expect that he is a person who is good at using tricks and has the wisdom to understand everything. But she didn't see Hua Tan Van. He was secretly smiling a triumphant smile because the plan had succeeded. I finished everything before going to work. It's all over, so I can probably take a leave of absence first, right? Suddenly a loud bang startled him. The great formation began to light up and rotate. What the hell is this blood-condensing great formation that was activated again? Hua Tan Van's group looked down in surprise. Could it be that the guy wasn't dead yet? Hua Tan Van painfully held the watch in her hand. Damn it, I already know how a good thing like taking an early leave can come to me. Mak Hien's body was covered in wounds. He knelt on the ground and absorbed something. The two blood demons also gradually melted and flew in one direction. It is the blood of the first and second blood priests. The accumulated blood was gradually absorbed by Mak Hien. Hua Tan Van observed Mak Hien carefully and spoke. What was he refining? In front of his belly formed the tip of a spear with two sickles on either side. Sword Heart hurriedly moved forward to attack. There was no hope of achieving it. Tan Van Sword Art. Mak Hien laughed crazily, holding the spear that was about to be refined, and swung it up. Kiem Tam used her remaining strength to attack and block Mak Hien from breaking the sword technique. Mak Hien's face was covered in sweat. He was tired and breathed heavily, smiling and said, "It's late." He raised his spear high and gently blocked Kiem Tam's attack. He smiled with satisfaction and glanced up. The Silver Sky blood formation was finally finished. The last blow made Kiem Tam's sword hand tremble unsteadily. That was my last strike. She turned back and said loudly, "Our spiritual power is exhausted. Retreat first." While everyone was rushing away, Hua Tan Van was still standing there. He calmly opened his mouth and said, "You guys go ahead. It's almost time." This word made everyone surprised and confused, turning back. "Senior brother Hua, what are you waiting for? Hurry up." But because he stopped, he couldn't escape in time. Mak Hien released the blood puppet's hands. "Want to run?" A giant blood puppet with 4 arms grabbed each of them. Mak Hien stood in the middle, controlling the blood puppet, and mockingly said, "You worm. Next is real hell." Tu Van and Fong Ni were both exhausted and had no strength to fight back. Damn, they had no spiritual power. Otherwise, how could they have been captured? This guy can't be beaten to death. Kim Tam was caught, his eyes wide open, looking at Mak-heen in fear. It was clear that just now it was only the 5th level of the Purple Palace. Now it's actually the 8th level, was captured, but in their hearts they were still very confused. Damn it, the 4 sacrifices are still here. How could he complete the condensing heaven blood-refining great array? Could it be that he only absorbed 2 bloods? Mak-heen smiled and admitted, "Yes, number 1 and number 2 are my collectibles, but I didn't expect to be defeated by you guys." Tu Van spoke again. That was not right, even if the strength of the number 1 Superman could take on 2 with 1. The strength of the number 2 was still far inferior to us. At most, it was like 3 people. Suddenly she stopped, as if thinking of something, maybe. He said he raised his spear high and laughed. "Ha ha, that's right. I can also be a product." In the middle of the spear, a beam of red light gathered. This was the first step of the demon lord descending upon the world. Tai Ma Sik Luen Ma Bin. Hearing this name, everyone is afraid of the Sik Luen Ma Bin. Kim Tam anxiously looked over and saw Hua Tan Van still holding the countdown timer, 5-4. "What are you looking at, senior brother?" Fong Ni was scared and sweated profusely. The book recorded that the demon soldiers first appeared 10,000 years ago. Countless righteous people were killed, and the territory fell into the hands of the demon sect. Only after the powerhouses of the 5 regions of the Tung continent joined forces could they break the chain of the demon soldiers. The end of that great tribulation, the countdown rang out again. 3. Mo Xian didn't care and continued to laugh loudly. "Ha ha, little boy, you're quite knowledgeable. This soul-refining demon fetus can become a complete red-refining demon soldier." 2. Mak-heen raised his spear high and prepared to attack. "Today, the 4 of you will have the honor of becoming the enlightenment offerings of the fetus demon." Suddenly blood splattered from the pain, a strange sound, a strange noise. What was that sound? Hoya Tan Van escaped from the control and looked at the clock that was ringing. It was already Thai hour. "So get to work." Mak-heen frowned, confused. What was he doing? A blue light suddenly appeared. It injured Mak-heen, and then cut the blood monster behind him in half. Hua Than Van frowned and explained to him, "That means your time to die has come." Kiem Tam escaped and asked, "Brother Hua, did you just hit me with the sword energy? You guys quickly go and leave this to me." "But senior brother." Hua Than Van gently reassured junior sister, "You guys should quickly go, set up the spirit-binding formation to protect the village." Kiem Tam's face was worried, and he urgently asked Hua brother, "Which elder killed Huyet Toiso? Quickly call him over here. We can't deal with him with just a few people." Tu Van also worriedly tried to stop him. Now that he was about to sacrifice himself, his strength was at least at the 8th level of the Purple Mansion realm. Even if we joined forces, Feng would still continue to advise him. "That's right, fellow Taoist Hua, don't think about it anymore." Hua Tan Van gently comforted Kiem Tam. "Don't worry, we'll be over soon." Mak-heen was injured and kneeling on one knee, trying to breathe in the sword energy just now. What was that? It was clear that he was only at the Lin Lung realm. Mak-heen trembled and stood up. "You stinky brat. What secret treasure did you use just now?" Hua Tan Van. "If you laugh at me, do I still need to use secret treasures to deal with you?" On the side of the Kiem Tam group, they left, but he still couldn't stop worrying. "Fellow Taoist Anhak, are we going to leave him like this? Does your senior brother Hua really have a way to deal with Mak-heen?" Mak-heen launched an attack and quickly rushed towards Hua Tan Van, but he didn't bother to dodge, just let it hit him, creating a small explosion. Based on his strength at the 6th level of the Lin Lung realm, he was afraid that he would be killed with just one palm strike. Nyak Kiem Tam recalls the actions and previous decisions of Hua Tan Van and chooses to trust. "I don't know, but I believe in Brother Hua. Since coming down the mountain, every decision of Brother Hua has been correct." Hua Tan Van's side at this moment after his attack was still standing still without moving an inch. He curled his lips and smiled contemptuously. Ha! He took out a sword with red eyes looking down. There was no way he could hurt this person. He frowned and began to feel scared. Kiem Tom on this side also flew to the village. She just landed on the ground, activated the spiritual power to take out the magic treasure from the spirit-locking spirit-binding formation, then throw it into the sky. Standing in the middle of the village, it creates a barrier like a net that surrounds the entire village. Watan Van felt that there was a protective formation in the village. He is relieved. Next, you can hit comfortably. Machian clenched the sword and laughed to cover up the fear in his heart. Ha ha. He pointed his spear at Watan Van. Don't you think that just now was my full strength? Watan Van calmly spoke up. Didn't I say if you have any tricks, then use them quickly, or else you won't have another chance soon? Nakheen gritted his teeth in anger, feeling humiliated. He screamed and poured his spiritual power into the spear tip. He created a large red ball, blood spear slash. The power it emitted blew everything away. Even the mountain was cracked and blown away. Mak Hien smiled smugly because of his recent powerful attack. But in his eyes, the image of Hoatan Van was still standing firm. Thou, Hoatan Van, stood there calmly, looking at Mak Hien like a joke. Than Van once again looked down with contempt. Isn't that just that? Mak Hien angrily swung his spear and slashed, but Tan Van easily dodged it. Die! His face was full of blood vessels. Blood-red eyes went crazy, holding the spear in his hand, concentrating all his strength to absorb the surrounding blood corpses. He created a vortex of blood. He used 100% of his power to create this attack. Many powerful vortex pillars appeared one after another. He laughed like crazy. From the place of Van Can village, one can see a pitch-black sky surrounded by many pillars of blood and corpses. Tuvan and everyone looked over and couldn't help but worry. Oh my God, is this the power of the demon soldiers? Kiem Tam clasped her trembling hands, and his eyes filled with tears as she silently prayed, Brother Hua. Machian was tired of creating the ghost soldier and had not yet had time to breathe when he heard Huatan Van's voice. I tell you, cultivating skills cannot be just about feeling beautiful. Only hearing but not seeing people makes him panic and look around. What is the use of skills that are more harmonious and do not hit people? After saying that, many green lights quickly flew over. They slashed at those blood pillars. I don't know how the pillars that were cut gradually disappeared. Makheen was scared. He hypnotized himself, haha. I must be dreaming. He broke out in a cold sweat, unable to believe his eyes. How could this be an illusion? At this time, Hoatan Van also appeared from the smoke. Are you thinking about why a small Lin Lang monk can easily play with his elders like that? Very simple. It's because Hua Tanvan coldly looked down as if looking at a fool. I have sealed my own realm. Makheen's cross-demon slash attacked, but Tanvan Chi used one hand to block it. Up until now, I have never dared to cultivate in front of others, afraid that if I accidentally awaken, it will lead to heavenly tribulation. Multi-layered friction magic blade continued to attack, but was still lightly countered. One hand of the flower Tanvan fought. The other hand clenched tightly, sighed, and told of his long-standing suffering. Moreover, as a sect disciple, performing too well is not a good thing. Speaking of this, Hua Tanvan's sharp eyes looked over the so-called, the greater the ability, the more trouble there is. Hua Tanvan started to get serious to be able to live a peaceful life. I have to wash clothes. I see that my strength is no match. Makheen turned around and ran away. Damn it. Run and attack at the same time, hoping to prolong the escape time. This crazy, crazy guy. But the person had appeared behind him. Since when? Stop. Have I let you go yet? Makheen was extremely scared. Hua Tanvan clenched his sword and raised it 5 or 7 times, affecting my rest time. Hurting my teammates forced me to leave first. Makheen was scared and couldn't fight back, so he ran away from you. Don't come here. Hua Tanvi. Van frowned and looked ahead. The crime was unforgivable. Than Van's sword art. A single strike rushed towards Makheen in the distance. He screamed in fear. No! But it still rushed to beat him up, sending dust flying. The dark clouds are gradually disappearing, and the first warm rays of sunlight are shining down. Give back the blue sky. Hua Tanvan stood on high, watching the flowing water fall into deep thought. Pan Thong Mak Hien left a picture, not knowing what to do. Inside the crowd, Kiem Tam was surprised to see this scene. Nyak! Nyak! Fellow Taoist, is this Hua senior brother of yours really only at the Lin Lung realm? The power of this sword can be compared to a cultivator of the immortal realm. How can you not be confident? Kiem Tam was also surprised. It turned out that Hoa Su Huin's realm had long surpassed all the disciples of Tan Van Kiem Tong. The more she thought about it, the more ashamed she felt. Compared to his eldest disciple, what am I? Suddenly there was a cracking sound. The village protection formation is cracking violently, unstable. The spiritual power shockwave is too intense. The spirit formation is about to be broken. Kiem Tam, go ahead. Taoist Van, Taoist Fong. Quickly, go evacuate the villagers. We will hold out here. Having said that, the Sword Heart used the remaining spiritual power to maintain the formation from breaking. At least it could protect the lives of the ordinary people in the village. Suddenly a hand appeared and used spiritual power to touch the formation. Kiem Tam suddenly looked up and saw that it was Hua Tan Van coming to help. The protective formation instantly restored to normal. Hua Tan Van said with a smile. Okay, take down the formation. Brother Hoa. The people in the village immediately knelt down to thank the Immortal Master. Thank you, Immortal Master. While the villagers were thanking Kiem Tam, he turned to ask curiously, Senior brother, you were already so strong. Why didn't you tell me? Hearing that, Hua Than Van scratched his stupid old head. What are you talking about, sister? He opened his mouth without blinking once and said, It's all thanks to the sword talisman that Master gave me that I was able to destroy that sect elder. What this said made all three of them surprised. So the sword just now wasn't released by Senior brother? Hua Tan Van painfully sighed and said, Of course not. I'm only at the 6th level of the spirit realm. Where do I get that kind of strength? Having said this, he immediately turned the credit to the 3 people who risked their lives to stop me, giving me time to activate the sword talisman that my master gave me. The more he spoke, the more bewildered everyone became. In addition, that Mak Hien was beaten to the point of exhaustion by everyone, leaving him with only a little strength. So he was directly slashed by the talisman sword. It's just that I were lucky to get the advantage. Kiem Tam still had some disbelief in his thoughts, but he was able to dodge all of the attacks from the demon sect elders. Under the attentive gaze of Kiem Tam Tan Van, sweat poured down, and he didn't know what to say. He scratched his head and found an excuse to explain that this matter was indeed because my main cultivation was body technique and escape techniques, so it was easier to dodge. Moreover, Junior Sister also knows that my master, Gu Wu, is the #1 in the sect in terms of magic. Kiem Tam approached and asked again to find out the truth. So what about the spirit-destroying formation just now? Stabilizing the entire formation like that was not something that the Lin Lung realm could do. Hua Tan Van groped inside her shirt. Of course she used this. He took out a jade green gem. Seeing this thing, all 3 people exclaimed in surprise. It was a treasure spirit. Treasure spirit was a type of spirit clear that could store spiritual energy and could be summoned at any time. Because the cost of production was high, it was also only for one-time use, so it was not popular. The story begins in a place called the Eastern Wilderness of Tan Van Chao. There is currently a battle going on here between the Tan Van Kim sect and the Ma Van Kim sect. The disciples of the Tan Van Kim sect are in a weak position. If you are defeated by the Ma'an Huyet formation, then the Tan Van Kim sect will be the same. The era has changed, and from now on, the Eastern Desolate Continent will be the world of our Ma Van sect. A disciple was beaten until he vomited blood, supporting his injured body and screaming. Ma Van Tong, don't even think about being arrogant. I've already informed Hua Su Huing. Once he arrives, don't even think about escaping. On the Ma Van Kim sect side, 5 people were working together to activate the formation. Behind them was a giant emitting black lightning created from the formation. The hooded man in the middle asked, Are there any people with the surname Hua among the 10 great disciples of the Tan Van Kim sect? I don't remember. Hearing that, he frowned and laughed mockingly. He wasn't even one of the 10 great disciples. yet he still wanted to fight with the 5 geniuses of Ma Van. He said, as he controlled the formation to make the giant raise his fist, "Let your senior brother come and pick up your bodies." As soon as he finished speaking, the fist swung down. At the same time, a mysterious young man also flew over. He was able to block the attack with one hand.